Buongiorno a tutti e benvenuti al terzo webinar TPS 2024. Oggi tratteremo Export Cina con focus arredamento. Oggi parleremo di tantissime normative per l'accesso al mercato cinese dei prodotti d'arredo e quindi andremo a vedere e analizzare normative di prodotto in modo verticale su tanti settori merceologici. Appunto tratteremo dall'arredo domestico all'arredo ufficio, piuttosto che l'arredo esterno, arredo bagno e tanti altri, e grazie ai nostri partner che interverranno appunto direttamente da Pechino. E inoltre parleremo di 3 iniziative importanti che il governo cinese sta portando avanti, soprattutto a livello normativo. La prima legata agli aspetti di sostanze chimiche, quindi la restrizione di sostanze chimiche per l'accesso dei prodotti al mercato cinese, la seconda è il ritardante di fiamma e la terza ha tutte le certificazioni verdi che il governo sta mettendo in atto e che interesseranno anche il settore arredamento. Inoltre vi voglio ricordare che l'obiettivo un po' di questi webinar è quello di cercare di affiancare voi e le aziende che vogliono introdursi nel mercato cinese, cercando di fare dei progetti personalizzati, non solo che aiutino alla conformità e che possono analizzare le certificazioni in questo mercato, ma soprattutto che soddisfino le richieste e le aspettative dei vostri clienti cinesi. Quindi per qualsiasi richiesta, chiarimento o necessità di supporto, scriveteci all'indirizzo email compliance@tpshub.it. Detto questo, lascio la parola allo staff di Minkuizu. Vi voglio ringraziare tutti voi e ci vediamo al prossimo webinar. Grazie.
Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar today. In today's webinar, we are going to introduce you a topic called Unlocking Opportunities, China Furniture Standards and its Market Access. In today's presentation, we are going to cover 5 subtopics. There will be overview, the mandatory standards for market access, the voluntary standards for market surveillance, the initiatives potentially impacted furniture products, and finally, of course, a summary will be given. So first of all, let's go through an overview of this topic. So in general, when products of furniture enter in China, they must meet the minimum requirements of mandatory standards and undergo the required qualification assessment as mandated by laws and regulations. And China's regulation of furniture products primarily relies on the mandatory standards, basically, and additionally, voluntary standards are utilized in China's market supervision activities for sample inspections of products. And currently, there is no mandatory qualification assessment system specifically for the furniture products in China. However, the government-led recommended qualification assessment systems, along with the initiatives aimed at improving quality and promoting green transformation, may have some significant potential impacts on furniture products. And we're going to cover that in further details in the next sections. And along with the process of introducing the market access requirements for the furniture products, we will also provide some tips of how the China standard system is going together with the contents. So here we will see the framework of the mandatory standards for market access of furniture products in the China market. So basically they are from four perspectives, and the 4 perspectives will be general safety, harmful substances control, flame retardant, and the children's furniture. So as you can see in this framework, the current standard structure of the mandatory standards used for the conformity of the furniture products actually includes multiple items and mandatory standards. But for the future ones, there will be a big structural change to combine all these standards together. So in this section 2, we're going to introduce all these mandatory standards that are currently effective one by one. And in each step of the introduction between the 4 perspectives, we are also going to introduce you what the standards for each of the items, like the general safety, harmful substances control, flame retardant, and children's furniture will going to be reshaped like. So there's going to be like a full picture. Now moving to the first perspective, or the first item, is that for general safety. The first one, probably like one of the most important mandatory standards for the furniture products in the China market, is the GB 28478. So here, please allow me to take a little bit time to give you the first tips of the China standard system. So basically, in China standard system, there are different kinds of standards. National standards, sector standards, association standards, etc. Very, very similar with international system. But in China, there is a way to identify the national system, which are the most important standard system from the other ones. Because in China standards numbers system, you will see GB as the mark or the identification to know that this standard is actually a China national standard. And if it is GB alone, it means this standard is mandatory. And if it's a GB/T, it means the standard is voluntary. And of course, there are some exceptions, for example, like the environmental protection standards and some of the medical devices and product food safety. There are some exceptions of the standards start with a standard number not beginning with GB, but they are still national standards. But the majority of the national standards within China is start with a GB or GB/T. Now, back to the same content. So the standard GB 28478/2012, named General Safety Requirements of Outdoor Leisure Furniture, Seatings and Tables. It is a standard applies to outdoor leisure furniture such as camping, household, and commercial tables and chairs. It specifies general safety technical requirements, outdoor leisure furniture, and mechanical safety requirements and testing methods for tables and chairs. So we need to know that these standards, the GB 28478, does not cover material design, structure, or manufacturing process. It also does not apply to commercial outdoor furniture that is used very frequently. Furniture with movable soft covers and covering materials, and permanently fixed furniture and street furniture, they are also not covered in this standard. So speaking of the relations with international standards of these mandatory standards, the EN 581/-1 and -2 and -3, these 3 international standards were adopted with modifications. So the main differences of these Chinese standards with the 3 adopted ones is that the Chinese standards added material requirements and testing methods, and in the meantime, it also adds requirements for labeling, usage, instructions, and packing, transportation, and storage. So good news is that for a national Chinese standards who is adopting international ones, it will facilitate foreign manufacturers for them to adopt into or to be conformed to the standards, because the basic framework or the majority of the requirements would be similar. But on the other hand, the most important contents that the foreign manufacturers need to be aware of before their products enter into China is the differences or what exactly the modifications are for these Chinese standards when it adopted international ones. So it's actually like the second tip for the Chinese standard system, and it's all the same cases for the next standards that we're going to introduce. Now let's move on to the second mandatory standards for the general safety requirements in the China system for the furniture products. It is called GB 26172.1-2010, Foldaway Beds Safety Requirements and Test, Part 1, Safety Requirements. This standard is actually specifically specified safety and strength requirements for indoor folding wall beds and their installation strength requirements. But it does not apply to electronic devices in folding wall beds and does not apply to surface folded beds that can be converted into chairs or seating furniture, for example, like the small sofas, camping beds, or medical beds, etc. And it actually is a modified adoption from the ISO 10131-1. And the main change of this standards comparing with ISO 1 is that the GB 26172 adds safety requirements for wooden and metal materials. The next mandatory standard in this section is GB 24977. This standard specifies the terminology and definition, classification, requirements, test methods, inspection rules, markings, usage instructions, packing, transportation, and storage for bathroom furniture. What is specially required the foreign manufacturers to note is that this standard does not adopt any international standards, which means it's a totally China locally drafted standard. Therefore, this might require a further review or investigation into the standard technical details in order to make sure that your product, of course, is the condition is that you actually produce such bathroom furniture. In order to make sure that your product is conformed with China's market access requirements, this is the standard that you need to dig into. And next, we'll move to the standards that use for general technical requirements, GB 24820. These standards actually specify the terminology and definition, classification, requirements, test methods, inspection rules, markings, usage instructions, packing, transportation, and storage requirements for the lab furniture. And the standard is not applicable to chairs and stools used in the laboratory, as well as furniture used in special laboratories, for examples such as aging, degradation, assessment, heating effects, in ergonomics, and fire prevention, that kind of. So, but the good news for this standard is that it is a standard that uses 3 EN standards as a reference, so it may facilitate the conformity work a little bit, but used as a reference, it's not as easy or as facilitating as those ones who actually adopt it. So it may still require some time to get the technical requirements if your product falls into the scope. And in the meantime, the GB 24820 adds terms and definitions, symbols, product classification requirements, and inspection rules comparing with the 3 international standards that it used as a reference. So next sentence that is mandatory in the general safety is the GB 22792.2 office furniture screens part 2 safety requirements. This is actually the sentence specifies the general safety and the structural safety requirements for office screens. And okay, here comes the best part of this sentence. It would be very easy for European manufacturers, especially if they have such products to be imported into China, because this is actually an identical adoption of the EN 1023/2. So the easiest one up to now, but we will see more standards in the next step. Okay, now we're going to introduce you the last part of the general safety perspective, the item, because there will be the next step for this particular field is that China is actually formulating a standard national mandatory one in order to replace the previous ones separately for example, like bathrooms and offices, labs. So this new standard will be called the Technical Specification for the Safety of Furniture Structure. It is not assigned by the SAC, the Standardization Administration of China, the top regulatory administration of China, with a standard number yet, but it will be when it's approved. So regarding these standards, it integrates the structural safety requirements from the aforementioned general safety standards and other relevant voluntary standards as well. It's aimed at establishing a unified mandatory standard for furniture structural safety. So it is specified general safety requirements for furniture structures and specific safety requirements for certain product structures applicable to the furniture other than infant and children's furniture. So it is also a standard that largely aligns with international standards as well. However, in some aspects, its requirements exceed those in the EN standards. For example, regarding the glass fragment size, these Chinese mandatory standards stipulate that a maximum size of less than 75 millimeter, which is smaller than the 100 millimeter requirement specified in its counterpart, the EN 581-3. So now, regarding the progress of this under formulation standards, is that it has entered the approval stage and is expected to be released for comments before approval. Now we come to the harmful substances requirements and the standards for the furniture products. So this one is called GB 18584, the indoor decorating and refurbishing materials limit of harmful substances of wood-based furniture. So this is a standard actually specify the limit requirements, the test methods, the inspection rules for harmful substances, the contents of soluble lead, cadmium, chromium, and mercury, etc. So in the when these substances existing in the wooden furniture product, and this standard is actually applicable to various type of indoor wooden furniture products. But again, unfortunately, this is a standard that does not adopt any international standards, which means it requires either special dig-in or focus for the compliance team of the manufacturers to check before they putting products into the China market, or they can turn to a professional partner like us or like a consulting firm, a team that can guide you through the specific technical requirements and parameters to ensure that your product is conformed to the Chinese market requirements. So the second mandatory requirements for the harmful substances in the China market is the GB 28481. It is called the limit of harmful substances of plastic furniture. It's actually covering again a variety of contents such as terms, requirements, test methods, and inspection rules for the restriction of harmful substances in plastic furniture. And this standard is actually applicable to various types of plastic furniture products for indoor, outdoor, and public use. Again, a standard does not adopt any international standards, are fully Chinese locally formulated one. And so now we're moving to the future developing trends for the harmful substances for the furniture products. So there will be a new mandatory Chinese standards called Limit of Harmful Substances of Furniture. This standards will replace the above two harmful substances standards that we explained before, and this new one will become the foundational standard for the restriction of harmful substances in furniture. So it applies to various types of furniture made of materials such as wood, metal, upholstery, plastic, bamboo, rattan, stone, as well as their composite materials. And this mandatory standards actually refers to the limit requirements for Class 1 civil buildings in the National Mandatory Standards in China called GB 50325, namely the Code for Indoor Environmental Pollution Control in Civil Building Engineer, in the establishment of many indicators. And the most significant difference compared to the corresponding international standards of these Chinese mandatory ones that are yet to come is that the corresponding international standards is the inclusion of limits for radioactive nuclides, considering the furniture products may involve stone materials. And this standards for the progress, it had entered the approval stage, like the previous one for the general safety, and it is also expected to be published for comment before the approval. Now we're going to introduce the third part of the mandatory standard system, which is the flame retardant. So these standards is actually, first one is the GB 17927.1. It's the upholstered furniture, assessment of the resistance to ignition of the mattress and the sofa. Part 1, ignition source, smoldering cigarette. So this standard actually specifies the methods and evaluation criteria for the flame retardancy test of soft furniture using smoldering cigarettes as the ignition source. It is a mandatory standard that is applicable to the flame retardancy test and the evaluation of soft furniture such as the mattress and sofas for household use. And it actually, again, good news, it adopts international standards, the ISO 8191 and -1 and the EN 597-1 as in a non-equivalent manner, which probably means that it covers more changes comparing to another mode that we just introduced, which was called a modified adoption. So a non-equivalent adoption means there are more changes averagely than a standards that adopts international standards in the modified adoption way. So here comes a new, like a Chinese standard system tips for the foreign manufacturers, just for information. And the next mandatory standards for the flame retardant in the China market is called the GB 17927.2. The upholstered furniture, that's actually the part 2 of the Chinese standard series GB 17927, for the ignition source as the match flame equivalent. So it actually puts forward the methods and evaluation criteria for the flame retardancy test of soft furniture using simulated match flame as the ignition source. This standard is applicable to the flame retardancy test and evaluation of soft furniture such as mattresses and sofas for public use. The same. And also it is a adoption in a non-equivalent method to the international standards ISO 8191-2 and EN 597-2. So the next mandatory standards regarding the flame retardant requirements is called GB 20286. It's the requirements and mark on burning behavior of fire retarding products and sub-assemblies in public place. It is the standards that actually elaborates definition and classification of flame retardant products and components for public places, as well as requirements for combustion performance and labeling. This standard is actually applicable to flame retardant products and components used in various public places as stipulated in the Ministry of Public Security's Order number 739 and Order number 61. So bad news, no international standard is adopted by it, which again requires further review, very thorough and careful read through all the requirements if your products falls within the scope. And if necessary, we actually advise you to turn to like a professional team, a consulting firm like us, that to help you guide you through to make sure that your product is conformed. And again, for the flame retardant requirements, there is also a new Chinese mandatory standards under drafting. So this new standards, which would be a mandatory one for all the manufacturers and the furniture products that will enter China market, is called the Safety Technical Specification of Flame Resistance for Furniture. So this standard actually integrates the the two parts of the GB 17927 and retaining the test methods specified in these two standards, but adding the test methods of pine wood crisp as a higher flame retardancy level in the new standards. So the new mandatory standards will also elaborate the flame retardancy performance requirements and test methods for the furniture in different settings. In this mandatory standards, it will also categorize furniture flame retardancy into 3 levels: flame retardancy level 1, level 2, and level 3, which are respectively applicable to home use, general public use, and special public use. So test methods for flame retardancy of each level will be determined with reference to ISO and BS standards, which again are good news, because it means that for the requirements, for the market access requirement of this sector, China is trying to get more and more integrated into the global and the international system. So key indicators of this coming up new China mandatory standards regarding 3 types of ignition sources: cigarettes, simulated match flames, and pine wood crisp. They are generally consistent with ISO standards and BSO standards requirements. So currently, this standards regarding its progress is also in the approval stage. It is expected to be published soon, and after the publication in the near future, it can be referenced for future revision of the GB 20286. So next part, this is the 4th part regarding the children's furniture. As we all know that there are quite a variety of sectors globally and as well as in different countries they will put the children's products within the sector separately because children need more care and safety protection. So in China, we know that for cosmetics and for medical devices and as well as for the toys, again with the furniture, they are one of the few of the sectors that have such system setting up specifically for children. And this first mandatory standards we're going to introduce is the GB 28007. It's called the Children's Furniture General Technical Requirements. So this standard actually specifies the terminology and definitions, the other main contents that the standard cover, including general requirements, safety requirements, warning signs, test methods, inspection rules, and instruction for the use of markings, packaging, transportation, and storage of children's furniture. And these standards actually apply to furniture products designed or intended to be used by children aged ranged from 3 to 14 years old. And no international standards is adopted, unfortunately. So now move to the next one. For this one, for the children's furniture, the GB 22793.1. It is called the Furniture Children's High Chair Part 1 Safety Requirements. So this is actually the standards that puts forward safety requirements for household children's high chairs. The purpose is to minimize accidents caused by children's high chairs and multi-purpose high chairs used as kids' high chairs during the normal use or reasonably foreseeable misuse. So the standards does not apply to convertible low chairs, regular low chairs and low tables, as well as additional function of high chairs with features such as like baby walkers, strollers, rocking chairs, car seats, and reclining chairs. So within this mandatory standards, it does not apply to accidents or injuries that may occur when children play with each other in the high chair, or accidents caused by misuse or abuse by children over 3 years old. And again, the good news is that this is a mandatory standard that identically adopted the ISO standards 9021-1. So here comes the new standards within the China's market access system. So it is called the GB 24430. It is bunk beds for domestic use, safety, Part 1 requirements. So it is a standard that actually elaborates the safety requirements for household bunk beds, primarily aiming to reduce the risk of accidents, especially for children. So while it also considered only the sleeping function of the bed, it applies to household bunk beds, also the single-level beds with a bed surface height greater than or equal to 800 millimeter, regardless of the use or space below the bed surface. And the ISO standard 9098-1 is adopted with modification. And comparing with the ISO international one, this Chinese mandatory standards add safety requirements for metal materials and modify some technical parameters of bunk beds, like the height of the safety barrier. So if you need more information of the difference of this one compared with the international one, please reach out to our team and we will be very happy to help. And again, in the children's furniture section, there is also a new mandatory standard that are under working. So the new one is called Technical Specifications for the Safety of Infants and Children's Furniture. It is a standard that actually which is actually a revision and the integration of the 3 mandatory standards that aforementioned. for the infant and children's furniture. In this standards, the general safety requirements and specific product safety requirements for infant and children furnitures will be stipulated. And the standards covers infant and children's furniture products such as children's high chairs, grips and grips mattresses, toddler beds and folding cots and mattresses, bunk beds and mattresses, children's bedroom furniture, their study and play furniture, etc. So this standard generally will align with its international counterpart in most of the parameters, and so the current most updated progress of this standards is that it has entered the approval stage as well. So it is expected to be published for public comments before the approval. And if you need the latest news or like the further follow-ups, as a regular update, please come to us and contact our team, and we will help you to follow up to keep up with the latest news. So that will be the end of the section 2, and for the third part of this presentation, we're going to introduce you with the voluntary standards for the market surveillance. So furniture products have long been a focal point of the market supervision activities in China. The highest regulator of the country regarding the market supervision, called the State Administration for Market Regulation, had outlined key furniture items for supervision in the National Catalog of Key Industrial Products for Quality and Safety, the 2024 version. The products that has been covered within this catalog include wooden furniture, sofas, mattresses, office chairs, outdoor leather furniture, bathroom furniture, anti-theft safes, and engineered wood products, for example, like the particle board, medium density fiber board, oriented strand board, etc., and many more. So when the products are listed in the National Catalog of Key Industrial Products for Quality and Safety Supervision, they are more likely to be subject to a random inspection by the market supervision authorities. So this is why we're putting it here, because it will require attention for the manufacturers. It means your product might be more frequently randomly checked. And so the SAMR, the highest regulator of the China's market supervision, has developed a implementation rules for national supervision and inspection of product quality for children's furniture, wooden furniture, bathroom furniture, sofas, coconut fiber mattresses, smart toilets, household stainless steel sinks, particle board, medium density fiberboard, and other products. So this rule not only references mandatory national standards, but also refer to some voluntary standards, so in this way, let me explain a little bit. For in China's standard system, mandatory standards is definitely some rules that all the manufacturers that are selling products in the China market, they need to obey. But for some voluntary standards, they might seem voluntary, but a key point is that the foreign manufacturers, when they are trying to enter China market for the first time, you must check the relevance, for example, the implementation rules, the laws and regulations, whether some of them cited or adopted some of the voluntary national standards within their documents. Because in that case, the voluntary standards will become a actual mandatory standards because it is cited by a law and a regulation that a product must be conformed with when they're entering China market. So this is actually one of the most tricky parts for all the manufacturers overseas that's before they enter into China. So again, if you need professional help or service, please come to us with your product specifications, and we will be able to help. And so, based on the explanations that we presented in the last slide, we can put you with some example. As you can see in this page, for the wooden furniture, sofas, coconut fiber mattresses, household stainless steel sinks, and bathroom furniture. That's definitely not all, but we raised these 5 types of products to show you that the voluntary standards that are listed after each category, it's a actual mandatory standard because they were quoted by a national law or regulation for the products that are selling in China. And also you will also see like under the household stainless steel sinks, the cited standard is called QB/T instead of JB/T. This is even a sector standard, not a national one. But once it's cited within the laws and regulations or market supervision regulations, it is becoming actual mandatory standards. So after introducing the voluntary standards system for the market supervision, now we come to the parts where initiatives potentially will impact furniture products. So the first one is the green product certification. So we all know that China has been going through a green and intelligent transition a few years back with this policy document, and under the carbon peak and the carbon neutrality policy and the goals that the government set, the country is actually trying its best and the most possible efforts to make the society and all the products is using and selling to be greener. So green product certification is actually one of the very significant part of the green transition within the China market. So green product certification is a government-led voluntary certification scheme. This certification actually covers furniture and multiple furniture materials, for example, like the wood-based panels, etc. But despite voluntary, government-led nature, grants its significant influence on the market. So the product with green product certification in China does not only means probably you will have a market preference or it can serve as a very good market promotional way to telling your consumers or buyers that my product it's green and it's healthy and it's good, but it also might be a threshold or a criteria for you to achieve or gain some maybe like funding support, favorable policies, etc. That actually is a common measure in the China market. But this kind of benefits comes differently from based on different product types. So this is also something that you might need to check with a professional team that can help you to reduce the cost and receive more support from the China market and the government and the system. So this is what we need to emphasize, because as long as you get the right information, your product can be like preferenced by the consumer while gaining more support from the official channels that will lead you with more funding support, etc. So again, back to the green product certification. In this certification, furniture products will be assessed and certified according to the GB/T 34607, which is the Green Product Assessment Furniture. It is a standard that has been revised and under the stage of call for comments recently, and your requirements and assessment methods are anticipated to be added into the standards, and including, for example, for energy consumption, low carbon quality, harmful substances, etc. So there are, besides the green product certification, there are also different other initiatives that will help you with in the China market. For example, the quality grading, one of the most important measures taken by the Chinese government to guide the development and the cultivation of high quality products and brands. This is a system that actually further distinguishes high quality products from general ones, guiding society in the procurement and use of high quality products. So in this, a new standard called GBT product standard number unknown, but namely the quality grading of consumer products furniture is being developed under the stage of call for comments, and especially for these initiatives. So again, other similar initiatives will include like bamboo instead of plastic action, which is identified as one of the main products in the initiative. Bamboo has been encouraged to be used in the furniture products in the China market, suggesting the replacement of corresponding plastic furniture with bamboo-made furniture, such as like the desk, chairs, and storage boxes, etc. Because again, the green transition in the bigger picture of the whole country's efforts. And others include product carbon footprint certification, which is definitely probably the next focus of the future, because along with the development and the more and more emphasis of the global community on the ESG part, and like the carbon neutral. So China is also establishing a unified product carbon labeling certification system at the national level in order to promoting enterprises to save energy and reduce carbon emission by clearly labeling a product's carbon footprint data. So this is going to happen in the future, and it definitely will be more and more significant in the market. And there are also some more, but basically the main ones or the most popular ones are like this. And now to summarize, we have introduced quite a few standards and initiatives. So to summarize, there are a few points we'd like to share. So mandatory national standards are essential requirements for products entering the Chinese market, there's no doubt. And a product may be subject to multiple mandatory national standards. This is also a common practice along in the international community, and standards related to furniture are currently undergoing integration and revision process. Like the current ones may be combined into a same unique one, so to save all the time and the trouble for the manufacturers, which may lead to changes in admission requirements. So next point is that some of the voluntary standards are also referenced by the market supervision initiatives or laws or regulations, making them necessary conditions for overseas products entering China. And also China has some initiatives aiming at enhancing product quality and environmental protection, although they're not mandatory, but most of these initiatives are but they still have significant impacts on the market, which would require the attention or the focus of the foreign manufacturers. And last but not the least, overseas furniture manufacturers should closely monitor, check, and even participate in the full-mentioned standard projects to identify and mitigate compliance risk in the Chinese market to the greatest extent possible. And this is where we as a professional team regarding the market access and product compliance can help with. As long as you have requirements, we can help you with understanding and even participating in the China system for the mandatory standards and its market access systems. So that will be all for our presentation today. And here are our contact informations. We are very looking forward to your next stage requirements or questions or whatever service you need regarding the China market. And thank you for your time, and I hope this presentation will be helpful to you and your business. Thank you very much again. Bye bye.